Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm going to give it probably just another minute to see if anybody else joins us, and then we are going to go ahead and get started. So hold on, and we'll get started in just a second. Thank you. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I want everybody to know that this is being recorded, and so it will be posted. It will remain posted on Facebook. It will remain posted on YouTube. We'll also, one of the things that I'll talk about as we go through this meeting is that we will also be creating a web page on our district website where all of this information will be held regarding what is the athletics committee, why are we doing it. But that'll go up. So if anybody misses this meeting or comes in late, please know that it will remain posted. So what I'm going to do to start, I do want to tell everybody that you are absolutely able to ask questions throughout this entire live stream. And if you want to ask a question, all you have to do is, whether you're logged into YouTube or Facebook, you can go to the comments section and add a comment, and that's where you're going to be placing your questions. So I'm going to show everybody that. I am actually going to go to, I can post comments as well, and I'm going to post something. I'm going to post the link to our athletic handbook. And don't worry if you don't get it in the chat, because it's going to be posted in the presentation, and I'll also share that with anybody that wants to be on the committee. So if you post on Facebook or YouTube a question, it'll show up for everybody. So one of the nice things about this system, it's actually called StreamYard, is that I can pull those questions up as you post them. So for instance, I can show that there is the link to the Newfield CSD handbook. It does look like we are having an error posting to Facebook. That might be my posting, not yours. So I encourage all of you to ask any questions you might have as we go through this slideshow tonight. Looking at probably 25 minutes, that leaves some time for some questions. I will remind you as we go through this entire process that please don't hesitate to ask any questions as we go through tonight. All right, so what are we planning? The agenda for tonight is going to be, we're going to talk about the meeting dates. We're going to talk about the committee participation. If you decide to participate in the committee, we're going to talk about what those meeting norms are for when we do actually meet, so that we can keep meetings productive and moving forward. And then I'm going to give you a couple examples of the type of work I see being done during this committee. I do have experience working with a large group on athletic reform. In my prior district, we actually merged sports with the neighboring districts. So in that case, we were bringing together two handbooks, two different student bodies. As you can imagine, there were some disagreements and thoughts, but the committee structure overall was really productive. And we ended up with a combined athletic handbook that was better than either of the two separate ones were to start with. So I'm looking forward to the work and the participation on this committee to see what improvements we can start making, and they can be small and large, and I think you'll see that. So that's the overall. We're going to talk meeting dates, committee participation, meeting norms, and the work. And I'm going to do this probably about 10 more times. Feel free to ask a question by putting a comment into the chat. Next up, meeting dates. To start with, we have 4 meeting dates planned. So we have tonight, which is our virtual, just kind of getting to know what is going on with the committee. This Thursday, we have an in-person meeting at 6 p.m. in the Weaver conference room. Now we jump all the way to May 27th. We have our next in-person meeting in the Weaver conference room. First one was 6 p.m., this one's 6:30. And then our 4th meeting, planned meeting at this point, is 6 p.m. on June 11th in the Weaver conference room. So you might be thinking, okay, first we have some quick meetings coming up, and then we have a big gap between April 30th and May 27th. One of the reasons we have these meeting dates scheduled is that I was trying to avoid major conflicts with sporting events and other district events. Between April 30th and May 27th, between concerts and poetry nights and games, there aren't a lot of free nights. I think if my memory serves me, May 27th, there are a few modified games that start early. That's why it's at 6:30 in order to allow participation after those games. So we designed this, myself, Hank, and Lauren. We picked these dates so that we avoided as many conflicts as possible to hopefully get as much participation as possible. Now, we will have some changes in mind by June 11th. That does not mean the work needs to end there. I could see us having a few meetings during the summer. I know participation is going to be harder during the summer, but that is also part of when we talk about committee participation, we're going to have a few people that are always part of the process so that different individuals, depending on their schedules, can come in and out of the process as long as it's still being productive. So those are the 4 dates at this point, more to be scheduled if necessary. This is that second time I'm going to say out of 10, do not hesitate to write a comment in Facebook or YouTube, ask a question. I might not be able to get to it right away, but I promise I will get to it before the end of the meeting. Meeting dates down. Next up, committee members. So the reoccurring committee members, or the ones that are helping us keep track in the background, I will be a committee member. Mr. Newbert, our athletic director, will be a committee member. And then Lauren Schumacher, who is our athletic secretary, will also be a member. And the 4th and most important member of this committee will be you. And that you is parents, guardians, faculty and staff, board members, students, community members. In order for this to be successful, everyone needs to know that you are invited to participate. Athletics is one of the major ways our families, our caregivers, our community gets to interact with the school. It is important. Some of you have been able to be at the athletics meetings with me. Mr. Newbert can attest to this. Lauren can, the Board of Education. I believe athletics is just as important as any other aspect of our school day, for the reason that athletics is the connection for some of our students to the school. And just like I see athletics as an important part of our school structure, same thing with our clubs and activities. or the musical. It is our obligation as a school district to provide those opportunities for connection to our students. And athletics is one of those connections, and the most visible and participated in by our community. So the membership, it is open. The in-person meetings, faculty, staff, board members, parents and guardians, students, the invitation is there for participation in this work. Now, that's the transition to, we have to make sure that this work is productive. And so with that, I want to go over some of the meeting norms we're going to have in order to make sure that this work does stay productive. Number 3 out of 10. I promise I'll hit 10. Put a comment or a question into the chat. Don't hesitate. So our meeting norms. We will have an agenda for every meeting. We will stick to that agenda. If other side topics come up, we'll note them. We'll get back to them, but we're going to stick to the agenda. One of the most important things for me is that we always assume positive intentions for everybody in the group. All of us we participate in this committee because we care about our students, because we want the best for our students. In this case, it's talking about the best for our students within athletics. We might not see eye to eye on how things are handled, but assume everybody's coming from that positive position. If we do that, we're going to get really far in this committee. Be solutions oriented. You might come to this committee with specific things that you want to see addressed. I ask that you come with the solution, not the problem. We don't get very far by talking about everything that's wrong. If you are going to participate in this committee, come to the committee work with, I would like to see this happen. A framing of the discussion is going a long way. We are going to refrain from personal blame. There are plenty of things we can improve about the athletics department, small to large, but we're going to keep that conversation neutral. When we are in these meetings, we're going to be listening. Even if it's hard to hear what somebody might be saying, we are going to listen to them, because the only way we get to a positive solution is by listening to all statements. We're going to talk about what's important to us, what has happened to us, what our perception is. We're not going to talk for other people. We're going to maintain a professional tone. This is a school activity, this community. If a student couldn't say it in the classroom, we're not going to say it in the committee. And we're always going to end with next steps. So tonight, the meeting is going to end with next steps. So no matter what the conversation is during the committee meetings that are going to be coming up, we're going to stop at the end. We're going to talk about what needs to be gathered, what needs to be shared, what are we doing for the next meeting. That's a lot. It's not going to be perfect, but every meeting, we're going to start with these norms. We can refer back to them. We can discuss them. Like I said, it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay, as long as everybody's working towards these norms during the meeting. Again, questions or comments during tonight, put them in the chat, and I'll get to them when I can. So what is the type of work that I am seeing or envisioning for this committee? It really centers around the athletic handbook. So I shared the link in the comments. If you look at the comments of this video on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see a link to our handbook. I'm going to post this on our website, and you can click on this link if you go to this presentation. But the real focus of this committee work is refining, updating, changing, tweaking our athletic handbook. And what I have over the next couple of slides are some of those examples of how we might be able to improve our athletic program from the standpoint of our athletic handbook. We have a really good, strong base. The Newfield handbook is really student focused. It's got great communication, but where we might be able to see some improvements are over the next couple of slides. And these are just examples. I wanted to provide anyone listening tonight with what I am envisioning seeing happening. And I'm also open to other ideas about how do we improve the program. So first up, our philosophy and vision. Newfield's current handbook, it's student centered, growth focused, emphasizes teamwork, sportsmanship. But what we might consider doing, again, these are examples, talking about leadership development. I've had conversations with the Board of Education, and this is somewhere where we might, within our philosophy, we will be talking about the role of assistant coaches. Do we pay assistant coaches? What makes me think about this under the leadership development is we are always looking for or to develop our next line of head coaches. Does that mean we should be paying assistant coaches, pulling them into the system, getting them experience? So that's one of the examples under philosophy and mission. I know there's a little bit of a lag with the video. I'll remind you, questions or comments, don't hesitate to put them into the comments of this video. So we'll go section by section through our handbook and talk about what is there, what isn't there, what might need to be improved. Next up, preseason structures. The strengths of the Newfield handbook already: clear registration, team offerings, cut procedures with the communication and expectations. One of the things that I've been talking to Hank and the board about is maybe we should be adding a formal meet the team preseason event where it is all teams and coaches coming together before the season, listening to the same material, the same overall philosophies, and then we break to the teams within that night. It's good for us to all be together to hear the same things. Maybe defining roles further for coaches, parents, and officials. And communication, expanding that idea of, do we talk about playing time expectations? So this is the preseason structures. Here's some of the improvements we could see happening. Again, examples, not necessarily what we are going to stick to in the committee work. My last example, levels of play. The Newfield strengths, what is solid. We have clear structures by level, development versus competitiveness. What we might consider to fill that area out is really talk specifically about what the playing time expectations are by level. For example, modified. In my former district, it was clearly stated that at the modified level, the expectation was equal playing time. Now, we're not running a stopwatch on the sidelines, but your players on the modified level should get about equal playing time. At the JV, we start to development into the transition of competitiveness. Maybe it's moving away from equal, but it's not the varsity level where we are expected that the best players will be getting more playing time. So maybe that is something we can add as a clear expectation within the Newfield handbook. That was just a lot of information. So what I'm going to do is, it's time for questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of reverse us all the way back to the meeting schedule. That was a lot of information. Hopefully you get a sense of what the committee meetings will be about. Now, the handbook will be our focusing document, and we'll use it as pulling it back to the handbook of we can expand the handbook in many ways to address any improvements that we want to make. But that is generally the discussion of what we're going to be starting on Thursday, April 20th. Now, there'll be the core. I will be at all the committee meetings. Mr. Newbert will be, Lauren maybe. So there's going to be key people, and hopefully some of you listening tonight will be able to attend every meeting. And those core people who can make every meeting will continue the work meeting to meeting, but do not hesitate to come to a meeting if you're available, because your input is so important. So I'm going to leave it there. I can stick around. I will stick around for a couple minutes. If anybody does have questions, again, I don't think I hit my 10 mentions, but you can put those questions into the comments. If you do have any questions you might have for me, I will also put my email address into the chat. You can always send them to me if you need to. So if you wanted to send me questions outside of this, you can. So we're getting some questions, so thank you. So first question up here, do you plan on having a limited number of additional core committee members, or is the option to participate as a committee member just to show up to meetings? So great question. Really, our core committee members, I'm going to define it this way. Those are the people who can make most of the meetings. So if you are coming to those events and you're coming regularly, you become a core committee member because you are going to be part of all of those conversations. So outside of that, I'm not going to limit the number. Now, if 50 people show up, we might have to have a different conversation. But I'm imagining our committee, the previous time I did this work, our committee was 15 people, and those were regular members. So there will be no limit, but the core committee members will be the ones that can attend most of the dates. Had another one. Wednesday, May 27th is Track D Championships meet. I apologize, that was not in our calendar yet, and it was not in Schedule Galaxy, because I don't know if the final date has been set yet. But what we can talk about at our first meeting this Thursday, April 30th, is whether we should reschedule that, whether there should be specific work that could be shared to be able to talk about. Again, it's going to be tough to find some dates, but I'm also open to different times, different days, so we can talk about that at our first meeting. And another question, approving access to the handbook. I do apologize because I thought it was a public document. So what I'm going to do is try to get in there right now and make sure that it is public. So as anybody else might have a question, please put them in, and I'm going to check on the access to that document. All right, let me see. Oh, I did not change that. All right, so I just updated the link for the handbook so that if you reload your page, or you should have access to that now as well. Thank you for joining me. I will stick around for a couple more minutes. Put up your questions if you have them. Please email me any questions you might have. We're still getting some questions, so I'm going to pull that up in a second. And hopefully, for those of you who are going to sign off, hopefully I will see a good bunch of you on Thursday. So we have the question, do you have experience with District Hall of Fame? Do you think our current Hall of Fame committee should be incorporated into this committee? So right off the top, Mr. P, I do have some experience with Hall of Fames. I think that would be whether that committee is directly incorporated into this committee, or that could be something that we could do as a subcommittee to this and bring in the language or updates in the language to the Hall of Fame into the handbook. So I think that's a great question. I would not want to answer that by myself. So that's another thing that we can, and as these questions come in, I will bring these up at the first committee meeting as well. So that would be something that I would want to discuss, that specific question with the committee as a whole. But thank you for the question. All right, feel free to keep the questions coming. If not, I'll stick around. But thank you for those who have joined us. I like to keep these meetings to less than 30 minutes, and we are at 28. So thank you so much for sharing this time with me, and I look forward to the work coming up. Keep the questions coming. Would you also consider incorporating the booster officers members as a core committee member? Absolutely, I would think about doing that. And so that could also be, but I want to be very careful with putting expectations onto specific individuals. So if the boosters wanted to make sure that they always had a member present as representation, we could absolutely, I think that would be great input from the Booster Club, as they are such supporters. But I want to be careful that I'm not asking a one particular officer to always be there. Maybe that is a standing core committee member. As a booster representative, they can talk between meetings if one person can't come. But that is a great suggestion. As I said before, I'll stick around for a couple minutes. These are all great questions. I'll make sure I bring them up at the first meeting. So if you are good, please sign off. I'll stick around for a couple minutes. If you're interested in adding questions, please don't hesitate.